Let's shift gears. Take a look at this photo. It was taken during German Chancellor Angela Merkel's visit to Israel last week at an event for her to meet around 24 figures from the local tech scene. As you might notice, she was the only woman there. Merkel herself noted it, commenting that tech is a sector controlled by men, and perhaps next time some women could actually be invited.
And also taking notice were a group of women working in the field who organized a rally here held just hours ago in Tel Aviv to highlight the continuing gender challenges in the vaunted startup nation Israel. Well, joining us is Merav, Oren, entrepreneur and founder of WMN, and Zamir is the founder and CEO of i24NEWS. And let me just ask you, Merav, the rally this evening in Tel Aviv, what was the message you wanted to send?
Very clear and simple. We don't want to see this again. We're sure it was a mistake, but if we won't have awareness, it could happen again. So this is what we want.
Is it a mistake, though, Adi, in the photo or in reality? Because there is still, as advanced as Israel is in the tech scene overall, there's still an imbalance between the presence of women and men, isn't there?
Right. In the ecosystem of entrepreneurs, we see women and men as well, and they're working together in many startups, in many verticals. So what we think is that the picture is not the reality. In the reality, there is not only women or only men, and that's why today in this event there were also men and women in the picture.
So tell us a little bit more about the reality as you see it. I mean, for people who aren't familiar, especially with the tech scene in Israel, a very big one compared to sort of like a second Silicon Valley, what is it like to be a rising woman or an executive in tech?
Okay, first, Israel, as we all know, is really the startup nation. And we have a lot of startups, and the ecosystem is amazing. But still, the numbers are, I think we're between 3 to 10%. It depends who you ask, but it's not more than 5-7% women-led ventures, which is still, we have a lot of way to go. But it's getting better in the past year, so.
I'm curious about when, of course, raising money is key, drawing investment for the tech sector. And the big money, a lot of the big financial institution investors, that is a sector still controlled by a great degree by men. Is that a challenge that you face when you go out and you have to raise capital?
I think It's a challenge for all the entrepreneurs, but the statistics shows that it's more challenging for women. And there is a huge gap between women and men when are raising money. So it's not only raising money, it's also network, especially here in Israel. The men are more engaged. Sometimes it starts from the military service, and when you're trying to get into this net, it's harder. So part of the things that we're trying to do in WMN is initiating this network for women entrepreneurs, because a lot of things they just don't know about. If it's competitions, if it's seminars, if it's grants or any other things, and I think this is how WMN began when Merav found it.
I think the big issue about the picture and everything that happened today is really the community. There are so many communities today that are for women in tech, and all of them joined forces together, and this is what made this amazing really picture and you know, all the press that we're getting and the awareness that we want. This is what helped us make it happen. So.
You mentioned, Adi, in the Army that is, you know, sort of a big funnel from where a lot of tech ventures come from here in Israel. What else, Merav, would you say is a major obstacle that sort of holds women back, not only from advancing in tech, but from being the other 93% of founders of tech companies?
Well, you can start in the kindergarten.
Sure.
And we can talk about that. And you can start in the university, and the numbers just go down and down and down. And when we get here, it's all about network, as Adi said, and it's about men. Most of them being most of the VCs, we have a lot of women, but still most of the VCs are headed by men, and the investors are most of the men. So when you go into a room and you want to raise money, as Adi said, it's hard for anybody, but it's a little harder if you're a woman.
Your venture, i24NEWS, deals with a problem that women face, breast cancer detection, and you could talk a little about what you do, but I'm just also curious, is that a growth area that women could in effect exploit, that maybe the male tech sector has ignored the ways in which tech can be used, for example, to address some of these female concerns, let's say?
You're talking about the femtech field,
yes,
which is a new field.
Femtech.
Yeah, this is how we call it, femtech. And I think that we have advantage in femtech because we come from this area. We know better the problems. We know better our customers. So especially in Pink of You, it was started when I saw that there is a lack in all the operation of early detection. And I thought,
breast cancer risk.
Not only breast cancer,
okay.
But I thought, how can we do something different? So we think like intelligent systems. We want to predict, we want to be able to analyze before a woman diagnosed with breast cancer. So all our work is based on data, analyzing and prediction. And we are developing a new indicator that would allow every woman to manage her own risk.
How, in your case, since we're talking about funding and that being one of the main obstacles, what has your experience been like in funding in that sort of arena for such an important cause that's really relevant for everyone across the board?
Well, I think it's different when it's your first time and when it's your second time, like in Pink of You, because you can work in long term with less money because you have more connections, people knows you. Usually the entrepreneur is the brand, not the company. So you can engage more people and increase the evaluation of the company and do more and then go to seed.
Merav, we've hosted here in this studio a delegation from Silicon Valley of female executives. Of course, so much has been written and said about the challenges they face there. Have you found some help, a sort of a sisterhood, reaching out, for example, to Silicon Valley?
Of course. First, there's Daria, which is she's in the Silicon Valley, and today, when we did the picture, there were pictures in the Silicon Valley, in London, in Berlin, in New York, all around the world, and we're all helping each other. So it was really amazing.
Quickly, because you mentioned the difference between the first and second venture, your sort of advice, something that you've learned that you might have wanted to know when you were just starting out along the way.
Just believe in yourself. I know it's a cliche, but it always works.
Fundamental.
And network, and a little more network. It always works and helps.
So don't be shy. Get yourself out there.
And be in a community. I think really the power of community, this is what came out of what we did today.
All right. Well, a pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you for having us.
Zamir, Merav, Oren. Thank you for changing that image that we saw of Angela Merkel, which I think everybody cringed collectively a little bit when looking at. Thanks for being here.